Well, congratulations, Lakers. You beat a good team in Miami, even though they were hobbled and banged up and missing some players. Well, Lakers, you won the game, but I have to rain on your parade, okay? Because you guys gave away Montrezl Harrell along with Kuzma and Caldwell Pope, and they're balling right now, okay? Especially Harrell. And it gets worse when you know that Andre Drummond in the last two games averaged 22.5 rebounds a game, and those were the two games where he started because Joel Embiid wasn't playing because of health and safety protocols. And then you have Montrezl Harrell, who is fourth in points scored off the bench, and he has the most rebounds per game as a bench player playing more than 6 games in the regular season off the bench. Look, it's no secret that these two had their struggles in the Lakers uniform, and you have a lot of things happening that year. It was just coming up with that horrible pandemic, and people are still trying to adapt to it. The vaccine rollout didn't happen yet. Plus, you have your two stars, AD and LeBron, being injured, and it just was a failure of a season. But come to 2021-2022 season, things have changed. The script has changed. You have Drummond going to Philadelphia. Doc Rivers being so surprised that he was even able to snag him from the free agency market. Obviously, Doc Rivers and Andre Drummond, they go way back. You see now Andre Drummond putting up numbers that you'd see him put up in his prime. And Montrezl Harrell, man, much of the same thing. He's averaging almost his career high in points, where he's averaging 17 points a game coming off of the bench, okay, playing over 30 minutes a game when he was just playing 8 minutes less a game last year and averaged 13 points. And he's doubled his defensive rebounds per game, and it really does look like Harrell is coming to his own again and is looking more and more like that player we see in the Clippers. And today I'll go into why I think this is happening and why really it's all about the Lakers here. It's the Lakers because they're the common denominator in all this, guys. Their starting center that year was Marc Gasol, and Marc Gasol, credit to him, he filled his role in certain aspects, but they still needed somebody to back him up, obviously. And when he was off the bench, it would be Montrezl Harrell doing the lifting, and at that point you would see a problem when he would start playing, because one of the biggest issues the Lakers had last season that they're still struggling with, especially with an injured lineup, is spacing. Spacing is what's killing them, essentially. Montrezl Harrell playing alongside AD, and you have LeBron James controlling the ball, and sometimes they put in Rondo off the bench, and it just makes it easier for most defenders to not even bother taking them much seriously at the 3-point line, because a lot of these guys, they can make their threes, but with AD being one of your best 3-point shooters at 36% that year, come on, like you gotta know that something's wrong there. And what they decided to do was essentially bring in Drummond, okay? And the Lakers put these two in a position to fail, and even if healthy, I just don't think this team would have worked out. They could have made it through the first round if they had a higher seed and they played a lower seed team, and perhaps at that point they could have made it to the second round. But I don't see them beating teams like Utah Jazz, the Phoenix Suns, the LA Clippers. I just don't see them beating teams like that when you have such an obvious problem that is spacing. And it's unfortunate, but fortunately for those two, now they're thriving, they're successful. And another thing that I wanted to touch on before I leave you guys is Frank Vogel. I don't know, I think we need to talk about it, because Frank Vogel is just, his rotations lately, they just haven't looked good. Why are you putting Westbrook and Rondo in the game? Right? Decisions like that where you're starting DeAndre Jordan for most of these games. Why? And why is Kent Bazemore, who's getting beat every time, why is he even playing? Decisions like that make me think that even if they were to address the issues of spacing, there still would have been a problem with the coaching somehow. They would have somehow put these two in a position to fail. And so, to me, it's just like, at that point, look, the Lakers were the problem the whole time. Those two players now are being vindicated. Okay, you have Montrezl Harrell throwing shots at the Lakers, saying stuff like, well, look, the reason why I'm playing so well is because, well, Montrezl Harrell is on the floor more. Like, things like that, man. It's just, it eats at you when you're a Lakers fan. It eats at you when you're watching these Lakers games, because you just know that those two centers were actually good players, but they just weren't utilized well, and quite frankly, the team around them wasn't really good.